You know that feeling when you walk into a room, pause, and forget why you came in. It's not just once. It's been happening more often. You've eaten your greens, gone to bed early, even cut back on caffeine. But your mind still feels off. A little foggy, a little slower, and no one seems to have a clear answer. We're often told it's just aging or you're probably stressed. But what if that explanation is missing the bigger picture? What if your brain isn't broken or burned out, but simply undernourished? There's a quiet truth that modern life has made easy to overlook. Your brain can only work with what you give it. And sometimes, what's missing isn't a mindset but a molecule. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share something that might shift the way you think about your energy, your focus, even your emotional resilience. It turns out, there are a handful of essential nutrients, vitamins and minerals your brain absolutely depends on, that many of us are unknowingly running low on. Not because we're doing anything wrong, but because our food system, our routines, even our assumptions, haven't kept up with what our biology actually needs. And here's the empowering part. With just a few small changes, you can reverse that. You can restore clarity, improve your mood, and even protect your brain against the subtle wear and tear of time. This isn't about gimmicks. It's about giving your brain the raw materials it's quietly asking for. In this episode, we'll walk through 6 brain essential nutrients, what they do, what happens when you don't have enough, and how to nourish your mind and body in ways that are simple, sustainable, and science-backed. If you've ever thought, I know I'm capable of feeling better than this, you're absolutely right. Let's take the first step together. Number 1, vitamin B12, the silent brain shrinker. Imagine this. A woman in her early 60s, sharp, witty, still working part-time, active in her community, begins forgetting small things. Where she put her keys, the names of neighbors she's known for years. She laughs it off as senior moments, but over time the fog deepens. She starts repeating stories. She loses confidence. Her doctor runs tests and finds something surprising. Her vitamin B12 levels are low, very low. No one had checked before. What most people don't realize is that vitamin B12 isn't just about energy or metabolism. It plays a critical role in brain health. B12 helps build and maintain the myelin sheath, the protective layer that surrounds your nerves, much like insulation on electrical wires. Without it, nerve signals slow down, memory fades, and thinking becomes harder. Worse, when B12 is low for long periods, brain tissue can literally shrink. This isn't theory, it's measurable. In a landmark Oxford study, researchers followed older adults over 5 years and found that those with low B12 levels had significantly more brain atrophy, even after accounting for age, diet, and lifestyle. The brain wasn't just aging, it was starving for something essential. Now, here's where it gets personal for many Americans. You might be eating well, you might even be taking a multivitamin, but B12 deficiency still happens. Especially if you're over 50, follow a plant-based diet, or have digestive issues like low stomach acid or autoimmune conditions. In fact, early symptoms like fatigue, low mood, or forgetfulness are often misattributed to aging, depression, or stress. So what can you do? First, get tested. Don't guess. Ask for both serum B12 and methylmalonic acid, MMA. MMA gives a more sensitive picture of how well your body is actually using B12. Second, use the right form. Look for methylcobalamin, not cyanocobalamin. It's the active form your brain can use immediately, and it crosses the blood-brain barrier more effectively. Third, dose smartly. For most people, 250 to 500 mcg daily is enough. If you're deficient or have absorption issues, sublingual forms, or even injections under medical supervision might be needed. And here's a little lesson this all reminds us of. Just because something is silent doesn't mean it's harmless. Vitamin B12 deficiency doesn't announce itself with pain or rashes. It whispers with slower thoughts, smaller memory slips, a little less brightness in your day. But caught early, it's entirely reversible. Let's not wait until the fog is thick to take action. Now, we move from brain shrinkage to mood shifts. In the next section, we'll explore vitamin D and why this sunshine vitamin acts more like a hormone that shapes how you think, feel, and age. Number 2. Vitamin D3, your brain's light switch. Let me tell you about Mark. He was always the kind of guy who brought light into a room, cheerful, active, full of ideas. But over one winter, something shifted. He felt heavier, not in his body, but in his mind. His motivation dipped. The days felt gray even when the sky was blue. He thought it was just the stress of life catching up. But when he finally got a blood test, his doctor looked at the results and said, "Your vitamin D levels are extremely low." What Mark didn't know, and what many people don't, is that vitamin D3 is not just about bones. It's a powerful neuromodulator. Your brain has vitamin D receptors scattered across key regions, especially the hippocampus, amygdala, and prefrontal cortex. These are the very areas responsible for memory, mood regulation, and decision-making. When vitamin D levels are low, neurotransmitter production slows, particularly serotonin and dopamine, the very chemicals that help you feel balanced and motivated. At the same time, inflammation rises, neuroplasticity declines, and your brain becomes more vulnerable to stress. A 2018 meta-analysis in neurology found a clear link. Adults with low vitamin D were significantly more likely to experience cognitive decline and mood disorders, even when they were otherwise healthy. So what's going on? Vitamin D3 acts like a light switch for your brain, regulating gene expression and calming neuroinflammation. Without it, the circuits dim. And because it's fat-soluble and primarily produced in the skin through sunlight, many Americans, especially those who live in northern states, work indoors, or wear sunscreen daily, aren't getting enough. Now let's make this real. If you feel more emotionally flat in winter, struggle with energy despite sleeping enough, or have a personal or family history of depression, it's worth checking your 25-hydroxy vitamin D levels. Aim for a range between 40-60 ng/ml for optimal brain function. If you're low, supplementing with 2,000 to 5,000 IU of D3 daily can help, but always pair it with vitamin K2, especially MK7, to ensure calcium is directed to your bones, not your arteries or brain. Even better, combine your dose with morning sunlight. 10 to 20 minutes on bare skin without sunglasses helps reset your circadian rhythm, boost your mood, and signal your body to make its own D3. It's nature's antidepressant. Here's the small lesson. Sometimes the simplest habits, like stepping outside in the morning, can become the most powerful tools for mental health. You don't need a radical fix, just the right inputs at the right time. Next, we're diving into vitamin B9, or folate, the nutrient that quietly supports your brain's architecture, shaping everything from your thoughts to your resilience in the face of stress. Number 3, magnesium, the missing calm in your brain. Imagine this: you're lying in bed, tired but wired. Your thoughts won't stop racing, your muscles feel tight, your breathing is shallow. And even though the day is over, your body doesn't seem to know it's time to rest. This was what Sarah experienced night after night. She wasn't anxious in the typical sense. She ate well, worked out, even tried meditation apps. But she still couldn't find that sense of calm her mind craved. It wasn't until a functional medicine practitioner suggested checking her magnesium levels that things started to click. Magnesium is one of the most underappreciated nutrients when it comes to mental health, stress regulation, and brain recovery. We often think of magnesium as a mineral for bones or muscles, but inside your brain, it works like a natural neurological brake pedal. It helps regulate the NMDA receptors, which control how much calcium floods into neurons. Without enough magnesium, those neurons become overstimulated, leading to a state called excitatoxicity. Literally, neurons firing so much they begin to fray and wear out. This shows up as irritability or low frustration tolerance, difficulty focusing, trouble falling or staying asleep, headaches or brain tension. In fact, studies in neuropharmacology and the American Journal of Family Medicine have shown that magnesium deficiency increases stress susceptibility, and that supplementation can significantly improve symptoms of depression, anxiety, and insomnia. So why is this common? Because stress burns magnesium fast. So do caffeine, alcohol, high sugar intake, and intense workouts. Even if you're eating well, many people hover in a subclinical deficiency, not enough to trigger alarm bells, but just enough to keep your nervous system on edge. Here's a simple check-in. Do you often feel like your nervous system is overactive, even when nothing's wrong? Do small annoyances feel amplified? Do you struggle to relax or feel deeply rested? If so, magnesium might be the missing piece. You can start with food. Pumpkin seeds, spinach, black beans, dark chocolate, and avocados are rich sources. But food alone isn't always enough. Many people benefit from supplementing 200–400 mg daily, especially in the form of magnesium glycinate for calming or magnesium threonate for cognitive support. Avoid magnesium oxide. It's poorly absorbed and often used in laxatives. One gentle protocol. Take magnesium glycinate about 60–90 minutes before bed with a small snack. Combine it with dim lighting and a few slow breaths. It's not just a sleep aid, it's a signal to your nervous system, you're safe now. You can rest. And here's the takeaway. Sometimes your mind doesn't need another strategy, it needs a mineral. Calm isn't always about mindset. Often, it's about chemistry. Now, as we continue building the brain's foundation, let's look at folate, vitamin B9, the quiet architect that helps your brain build, repair, and regulate itself through the most fundamental layer, your DNA. Number 4, folate B9, the brain's blueprint architect. Let's rewind for a second. Imagine you're trying to build a house, but the blueprint is smudged. The measurements are off. The foundation is shaky. You might still finish the house, but it's not going to stand strong for long. That's what it's like when your brain is running low on folate, also known as vitamin B9. You may not feel the cracks immediately, but over time you notice foggier thinking, emotional ups and downs, slower learning, and a shorter fuse when stress hits. Folate isn't just another vitamin. It's the biochemical architect behind your brain's structure and emotional wiring. At the cellular level, folate drives a process called one-carbon metabolism, which might sound technical, but here's what it really means. It helps your brain build DNA, regulate neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, and repair cells when stress, aging, or inflammation wear them down. When folate is low, that entire cycle starts to misfire. And here's where it gets personal. In a 2020 study, adults with depression were found to have significantly lower folate levels than those without. Another study in older adults linked low folate with faster cognitive decline, especially in memory and executive function. You might be thinking, but I eat my greens. That's a good start, but there's a twist. Many people, especially those with a common genetic variant in the MTHFR gene, can't convert synthetic folic acid, the kind in most supplements and fortified foods, into the methylated folate your brain actually uses. This was the case for Daniel, a 42-year-old client of a nutritional therapist. Despite a balanced diet and decent energy, he constantly felt emotionally flat, unmotivated, and scattered. After a blood test revealed low folate and an MTHFR mutation, he switched to L-methylfolate supplements. Within weeks, his mood lifted and his thinking sharpened. Here's how you can apply this. Focus on folate-rich whole foods like dark leafy greens, asparagus, lentils, avocados, and beets. If supplementing, look for L-methylfolate, not folic acid. This form is active and bypasses the conversion step. Typical doses range from 400–800 mcg/day, but always consult a provider, especially if you're pregnant, on antidepressants, or managing chronic stress. One small protocol. Start your day with a smoothie that includes raw spinach and avocado, or have a lunch with lentils and beet salad. It's not just nutrition, it's brain architecture in progress. The small lesson here is powerful. Your thoughts, your emotions, even your ability to bounce back from stress, they're not just mental, they're biological, and biology needs blueprints. Now let's continue building that mental foundation by moving into a surprising vitamin that most people associate with colds, but your brain uses as a first line of defense against aging and oxidative damage. Let's talk about vitamin C, the brain's antioxidant shield. Number 5. Vitamin C, more than an immune boost. When you think of vitamin C, you probably imagine a glass of orange juice or a fizzy tablet when you're coming down with a cold. But your brain, it has a very different relationship with this nutrient. Vitamin C isn't just an immune supporter, it's a frontline protector of your brain cells, working quietly behind the scenes every single day. Here's the surprising truth. Your brain actually concentrates and stores more vitamin C than almost any other part of your body. It pulls it in through special transporters across the blood-brain barrier, not because it's trying to fight off colds, but because it needs it to function. Why? First, vitamin C is one of your brain's most powerful antioxidants. Every time your brain fires up a thought, processes emotion, or responds to stress, it produces tiny byproducts called free radicals. Left unchecked, those free radicals can damage neurons, reduce plasticity, and speed up cognitive aging. Vitamin C neutralizes those threats, but that's not all. It also plays a critical role in producing neurotransmitters, especially dopamine and norepinephrine, the very chemicals that influence motivation, focus, memory, and mood. Let's bring this to life with a real story. Marissa, a 36-year-old mom of 2, had been feeling mentally dull for months, not depressed exactly, just flat. She described it like trying to think through fog. A nutritionist suggested a simple lab panel which showed her vitamin C was on the low end. She had no idea because her immune system felt fine. But after a few weeks of upping her intake, through kiwis, red bell peppers, and a gentle supplement, she reported better mental clarity, more energy in the afternoons, and in her words, like the lights were back on. That's what vitamin C can do. It's not flashy, but it's essential. Here's how to apply this. Aim for 200-300 mg per day, well above the bare minimum RDA, but in the range where brain benefits have been observed. Whole food sources work best. Kiwis, strawberries, bell peppers, citrus, broccoli. If supplementing, look for a buffered or liposomal form if your stomach is sensitive. And remember, vitamin C is water-soluble, so your body doesn't store much. You need it daily. Here's one simple protocol. Start your morning with a vitamin C-rich snack, a kiwi, a few strawberries, or half a grapefruit. On stressful days, consider adding a midday 250 mg supplement to support your brain through the cortisol spike. And here's the little lesson. Sometimes, the things we think are basic are actually the most powerful. In your brain, vitamin C isn't an extra. It's a guardian one that protects the very circuits that hold your memories, decisions, and creativity. Now, speaking of guardians, let's look at another unsung hero that shields your brain cells from damage while also supporting memory and cognition as you age. Up next, vitamin E, the cellular shield your brain can't live without. Number 6. Vitamin E, your brain's anti-rust shield. Imagine your brain as a beautifully engineered car, high performance, fine-tuned, built for both power and precision. Now imagine leaving that car out in the elements for years, without any protection. What happens? Slowly, inevitably, it begins to rust. That's what oxidative stress can do to your brain over time. And that's where vitamin E comes in, your brain's natural anti-rust shield. Vitamin E is just another antioxidant in the crowd. It's fat-soluble, which means it embeds itself directly into your cell membranes, especially those rich in fats like your neurons. Think of it as a protective armor, shielding these delicate structures from free radical attacks that chip away at cognitive function, memory, and mental clarity. Why is this so important? Because the brain, particularly regions like the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex, is especially vulnerable to oxidation. These areas are central to memory, decision-making, and emotional regulation. Without adequate protection, the wiring of the brain starts to degrade, much like corroded cables in that high-end car. Now here's where it gets eye-opening. In a study published in JAMA, older adults with mild to moderate Alzheimer's who received high-dose vitamin E saw a slowing in disease progression. Not just in memory scores, but in everyday function, getting dressed, managing daily tasks compared to those on placebo. That's quality of life preserved. Even in people without dementia, higher vitamin E levels have been correlated with better memory performance, faster reaction times, and lower levels of inflammation in the brain. Let's bring this down to real life. Take James, a 62-year-old former engineer who always prided himself on mental sharpness. A few years into retirement, he noticed subtle slips. Forgetting names, misplacing keys, zoning out during conversations. His blood work showed low levels of vitamin E, not deficient, just low normal. With support from his nutritionist, he started incorporating more almonds, sunflower seeds, and olive oil into his meals and took a mixed tocopherol supplement with lunch. Within a few months, his focus improved. But more than that, he said he felt more present, like his brain had traction again. It's these kinds of shifts, small but meaningful, that remind us how intimately nutrition supports how we live and feel each day. So how can you apply this? Target at least 15 mg, 22 IU of natural vitamin E daily. Focus on food first. Almonds, hazelnuts, sunflower seeds, spinach, avocado, olive oil. If supplementing, look for mixed tocopherols. Not just alpha-tocopherol, and make sure the label says D-alpha-tocopherol natural, not DL-alpha synthetic. Always pair with a meal containing healthy fats to aid absorption. Here's a simple protocol to try. Add a small handful of almonds or sunflower seeds to your mid-afternoon snack, a moment when blood sugar dips and mental focus can waver. Dress salads with cold-pressed olive oil, not just for taste, but to nourish your neurons. And here's the takeaway. Just because you can't feel oxidation doesn't mean it's not happening. But when you fortify your brain with the right tools like vitamin E, you're not just preventing decline. You're preserving clarity, protecting potential, and keeping your inner engine running smoothly. Next, we'll explore a nutrient you might not think about much, but your brain cells can't signal without it. Up next, choline, the unsung hero of memory and mental sharpness. Number 7, timing is everything. When to take what? Let's imagine two people, both eat well, both take their supplements, but one feels energized, focused, and emotionally steady, while the other still struggles with fatigue and mental fog. What's the difference? Often, it's not what they're taking. It's when they're taking it. You see, timing matters more than most people realize. Your body runs on an internal rhythm, the circadian clock, which governs everything from hormone release to digestion to neurotransmitter activity. And when you align your nutrient intake with that rhythm, your brain can absorb, utilize, and respond more effectively. Let's break it down simply. Morning is activation mode. Cortisol naturally rises. Your brain shifts from rest to alertness. This is when nutrients that support energy, focus, and mood, like vitamin B12, D3, and choline, are best taken. These are your daytime drivers. Midday is your metabolic engine at full power. It's a great time to add vitamin C or E, antioxidants that support cellular protection while you're in peak activity. Evening is when the body winds down. Stress hormones lower. The nervous system shifts to rest and digest. This is the ideal time for magnesium, which helps with relaxation, sleep, and neural recovery. Let's take a real example. Emily, a 54-year-old teacher, had been supplementing for years but still felt wired at night and sluggish in the morning. After tweaking her timing, moving her B12 and D3 to the morning with breakfast, vitamin E at lunch with fats, and magnesium before bed, she saw a noticeable difference. Her sleep deepened, mornings became clearer, and her energy stopped crashing mid-afternoon. Sometimes it's not about more, it's about smarter. A few simple tips you can apply today. B12 plus D3 right arrow take with your first meal of the day, ideally with some healthy fat to boost absorption. Folate, if supplementing, right arrow take with lunch or breakfast, as it supports neurotransmitter production throughout the day. Vitamin C right arrow take in split doses, especially on high-stress days, morning and afternoon. Magnesium right arrow take 60-90 minutes before bed, paired with quiet time or a light snack. Vitamin E right arrow take with a fat-containing meal, such as lunch or dinner, for maximum absorption. Here's a gentle reminder. Your brain isn't just responding to what you feed it, but when. And that's the small lesson here. You don't need to overhaul your life. You just need to listen to its rhythm. A little alignment goes a long way. Up next, let's zoom out and put it all together, not as theory, but as something you can actually follow starting tomorrow. We'll walk through a one-day sample protocol that's realistic, practical, and powerful, so you know exactly how to support your brain, one habit at a time. Number 8. One day. One protocol. Lasting results. Let's make this real. We've explored the science, the stories, and the strategies. But what does it actually look like to put this into action, not in theory, but in a day of real life? Here's the truth. Transformation doesn't come from doing everything perfectly. It comes from doing a few things consistently and doing them in rhythm with your body. So let me walk you through a sample day, simple, science-backed, and completely doable, built to nourish your brain and nervous system from sunup to sundown. 7:30 a.m. Morning light, morning nutrients. Step outside for 10 minutes of sunlight. This isn't just a feel-good habit. It helps regulate your circadian clock, boosts natural vitamin D production, and sets the tone for mental clarity. With breakfast, vitamin B12 methylcobalamin, 500 mcg. Vitamin D3, 2000500 IU, paired with healthy fat like eggs or avocado. Choline-rich food. Add 2 boiled eggs or sprinkle sunflower lecithin into a smoothie. Mid-morning 10:00 a.m. Vitamin C, a piece of fruit like kiwi or orange or a 250 mg supplement. Hydrate. At least 1 glass of water. Hydration supports neurotransmitter flow. 12:30 p.m. Midday refuel and repair. This is when your metabolism and mental output are at their peak. With lunch, folate as L-methylfolate, 400-800 mcg. Vitamin E mixed tocopherols, 15-20 mg, paired with healthy fat like olive oil dressing. Include dark leafy greens, beans, lentils, or avocado. 3 p.m. Brain maintenance check-in. This is the time when energy can dip and mood can wobble. Snack suggestion: a small handful of almonds or sunflower seeds. Add berries or a bell pepper slice for extra vitamin C. Optional: another 250 mg of vitamin C if under stress or feeling run down. 8:00 p.m. Wind down with intention. Your nervous system is preparing to rest. Support it. After dinner or before bed. Magnesium glycinate or threonate, 200-300 mg. Pair with a calming routine. Turn off screens, read, stretch, or just breathe for 5 minutes. Let me introduce you to Sarah. She's 61, retired, and spent the past year feeling foggy and emotionally off. She didn't change her entire life. She simply followed a protocol like this, adjusted for her needs for 30 days. Her words: "It felt like I got myself back." That's what we're really talking about here. Not perfection, not obsession, but connection. Connection to your biology, connection to your energy. And maybe most important, connection to your ability to feel strong, clear, and grounded again. Number 9. Supplement smarter. Labels, labs, and lies. Let's be honest, the supplement aisle can feel overwhelming. Rows of brightly colored bottles promising better brain power, more energy, sharper memory. But how do you know which ones actually work, and which ones are just expensive dust? Here's what most people don't realize. Not all supplements are created equal. In fact, two bottles with the same label can have radically different effects, depending on the form of the vitamin, how it's absorbed, and even how it's manufactured. Let's break this down with 3 smart filters: labels, labs, and lies. 1. Labels, the fine print that matters. Imagine buying a B12 supplement. The front says B12 1000 mcg, but turn it around and you might see either cyanocobalamin, cheap, synthetic, harder for the body to activate; methylcobalamin, active, bioavailable, crosses the blood-brain barrier. The form matters, the same goes for folate. Right arrow, choose L-methylfolate, not folic acid, especially if you have MTHFR variants. Vitamin E, look for D-alpha tocopherol or mixed tocopherols, not DL-alpha. Magnesium, right arrow, forms like glycinate or threonate are gentler and more effective for the brain. A good rule of thumb: if the label doesn't specify the form, be cautious. 2. Labs, test, don't guess. Here's a story from real life. Dave, a 45-year-old runner, was feeling constantly tired and foggy. He'd been taking a brain booster stacked with B vitamins, omega-3s, and adaptogens. But a simple blood panel revealed the real problem. His B12 and D3 were still deficient. Why? Because he wasn't absorbing the cheap forms. A few tweaks based on lab results, and within weeks, he was more alert, more emotionally steady, and back to enjoying his workouts. What to test? B12 serum plus methylmalonic acid for precision. Vitamin D, 25-hydroxy D3 optimal, 40-60 ng/ml. Homocysteine, indirect marker for B vitamins and inflammation. Magnesium RBC test, more accurate than serum magnesium. Testing once or twice a year can save you time, money, and unnecessary guessing. 3. Lies, marketing versus truth. Let's clear the air. Many supplement companies focus more on marketing than formulation. Phrases like doctor recommended, maximum strength, or supports brain health sound good, but they're often unregulated. Watch out for mega doses without medical need. More isn't always better. Synthetic additives, artificial colors, and binders. Low bioavailability forms disguised with high numbers. If it sounds too good to be true, feel smarter in 24 hours. It probably is. So what's the small but powerful lesson here? Be a student of your own biology. The more you understand your needs through testing, tracking, and asking better questions, the less you'll fall for the noise. You don't need a drawer full of pills. You need the right forms, the right timing, and a connection to what your body is actually telling you. Here's one way to start. Pick one supplement you're currently taking. Read the label carefully. Research the form, the dose, and whether it matches what your body actually needs. This single step, just one bottle, one check, can begin a shift from blind faith to informed action. And that leads us to the final piece of this journey, where we zoom out, reflect, and remember who's truly in charge of your well-being. Coming up next, conclusion: from knowledge to power. You are the difference maker. We tend to think of change as something big: a new job, a new diet, a bold decision. But the truth is, some of the most powerful transformations begin in the smallest, quietest places, deep inside your cells, your nerves, your brain. One extra glass of water, 10 minutes of sunlight, a single capsule of the right form of B12. These aren't grand gestures, but they matter, because they remind your body that you're listening. And when you listen, your body responds. We've explored how simple vitamins and minerals, often overlooked or misunderstood, play essential roles in everything from mood to memory to motivation. We've seen how low magnesium can make your brain feel wired and tired, how a vitamin E deficiency can quietly age your neurons, and how timing, form, and food pairing can turn a supplement from just a pill into a tool that truly supports your biology. And most of all, we've learned this. You don't need to fix your brain. You need to feed it. That's the quiet power of nourishment. It doesn't force change. It creates space for your body to remember what it's capable of. So as we close, here's your invitation. Don't try to change everything. Pick one small nutrient, one small habit, one small step. Then take it consistently with care. Watch how the momentum builds. And if this video helped you reconnect to your health in a deeper, more personal way, we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment sharing what resonated. Like the video if this kind of grounded science matters to you. And subscribe if you want more stories, strategies, and tools that turn knowledge into real-life strength. Because in the end, it's not about the size of the change. It's about choosing to begin from the inside out.